So apparently less than 5% of the population can actually solve a Rubik's Cube. There's 43 quintillion combinations on a 3x3 Rubik's Cube, which sounds a lot like farm data. And the thing is, it can be learned though. You can learn how to do it. It's just having the time to do that. The difference though with agricultural Rubik's Cubes is that there's actually value inside. So if I'd have started this by telling you that there's £10,000 inside this Rubik's Cube and then asked the question, anybody want to come up and have a go at solving it, maybe there might have been a couple of people at least put their hands up. And I guess that's entirely the point. When I say farm data is like a Rubik's Cube, I need to think your gatekeepers, your invoices, your yields on an Excel, or perhaps even stuck in the combine. They're often organised like this: the red next to the green next to the blue, and it's absolute chaos. And you've got to spend time to pull it into one place in an attempt to be able to then solve it, open it, and take the value out that's inside. And sadly, unlike things that we do on our own farm, you can't hit data with a hammer. So you can't solve it in that way. There's always value inside though. Now that might be monetary value, that might be time savings, it might be increased knowledge or a good night's sleep, 2 ton a hectare of extra yield perhaps. The challenge is then solving, people at farms have got to learn how to solve them to be able to get that value out. And we tend to put it on our to-do list and it just stays on the to-do list, and what actually happens is the Rubik's Cube of farm data sits on the farm shelf, gathering dust, and the value that's inside it is never actually realised. The beauty is then, with the advancement of computers and technology, that we no longer need to spend days, weeks, years learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube. You can actually, there's tools and teams out there that can actually solve them for you, give them back solved, so that you can extract the value out of them. The challenge, and I'm sure others will talk about this today, is what value is actually inside. Now, I've probably only got time for one example here today. Alan Clifton Holt is a farm down on the Romney Marsh down in Kent, and we've been working with Alan for about 3 years now. He originally set us the challenge of, please, can you just come and sort out my data so that I can actually start using it? Can you help me take my Rubik's Cube off the shelf, blow the dust off it, and actually get it into order? So that's what we started doing. We put the red next to the red, the green next to the green, and lined up all of the multiple cubes that he had, and allowed him to then focus on the ones that he wanted to open and extract the value out of. We started with a fairly simple procurement analysis for him, and found £20,000 worth of savings that he realised that year, and that he's compounded every year since. He then asked us to do some detailed crop and field analysis alongside his advisors, so that now all of the decisions that they're making on farm have a data backing and are fundamentally aligned to drive a positive impact on the farm. He then asked us to do a drilling assessment, because he was worried that how he was going about his drilling and the setup that he had was impacting his yield. So we did a deep dive, field level of drilling assessment was the outcome of that. He changed his drill setup and he's targeting 2 ton a hectare, which for him is £120,000 worth of gross margin. On top of all of the time savings, Alan's there, he's looking at 150 grand in this year and weeks worth of time savings. And what he had to do, all he's had to do, is just throw someone his Rubik's Cube of data and get the solved one back. So I guess what's the point of this story is for farms, for us to be as efficient as we can be and to drive the productivity that we can, we have to have our data in order. It has to be integrated and be able to talk to each other to make any sense. As farms, we're very good at making the very best use of our days, but because of the complexity and perhaps even a lack of confidence, data very rarely forms part of that to-do list, and let alone the analysis thereof. So on farm, we're not able to unlock the value that it holds. Alan took charge of his, and as I said, it's commanding 150 grand and weeks worth of admin time savings as a result. So if there's one thing, if I could ask you to visualize, is the Rubik's Cubes of data on your farm, and that's the gatekeepers, the invoices, the Excels, etc. covered in dust, left for too long. Now imagine someone else solving them for you and giving them to you back solved so that you can open them up and take the value out of it. And imagine doing that today.